Well, it is a new year, but should it be a new you? No. And I'm going to explain why, plus my goals for the new year, and how they're reasonable and how you should make your goals for the year reasonable as well. Coming up here on the podcast. All right, everybody, welcome back into the podcast. Happy New Year to you. Hope you had a wonderful holiday season with you and yours. So, we're starting a new year, and as I'm recording this, we're 5 days in, but you'll be hearing this later on down the road. I want to talk to you first, just today, a little bit about my goals for the year, how they should be reasonable to you, or how they should be reasonable if you're making goals for yourself in the new year. So, before we look ahead, let's take a moment to take a look back at my year of 2023, excuse me. As I mentioned on the blog, if you read the blog post, which I'll link that blog post in the podcast description so you can read it for yourself. As I mentioned on the blog, 2023 was a ho-hum year for me. It was as close to a ho-hum year as you could possibly get in 2023. It was just very ho-hum, other than the podcast, other than my work at what I do for a full-time job every day. There really was not much to get excited about. That's going to change this year in 2024. There's a lot coming, and I posted a lot about that on the blog. So I encourage you to go read that. There is a lot going on this year that's very, very, very exciting that I want to do this year. Now, as for my goals in this new year, the big goal I have is continuing, aside, of course, from continuing to improve myself and my self-improvement journey and my growth journey as a person that I've been well documenting on this podcast, I need to get back into focusing on my mental health. That's one thing I'm going to be doing quite a bit, especially since I've regressed in the last portion of the year. I'd say the last 2 to 3 months of the year, I kind of regressed on my mental health journey. My patience started to wear thin a little bit. I got a little more irritable. I got to work on that for this year in 2024, especially at the first half of the year. And there's 3 words, and I want you to try this as well, if you're able. Try this with me, and this is something I want to do. And I just kind of said what I was wanting to here. The 3 big words I want to get out of my vocabulary are I want to. Like, I want to do this, or I want to do that. Why I want to get those words out of my vocabulary is because if I continue to say that, nothing's going to get done. And it's more than just saying those 3 little words, I want to. It's actually having the motivation and the inspiration to do whatever it is that you want to do. Basically, just set realistic goals for you and yourself. Like this year, my goals are continuing my self-improvement, continuing my personal growth, working on losing weight. And when I say working on losing weight, I don't mean like work on losing 100 pounds this year. That's not realistic. Don't do that. And that's kind of cliche to say, losing weight. That whole thing, that's cliche. That everybody says that at the beginning of the year and never does it. And never actually do it. But I want to do that this year. See, I gotta catch myself saying I want to, because if I continue to say that, I'm not going to want to do it. It's things that need to be done that I need to focus on. And again, personal growth, self-improvement. I think we all need to continue to improve on ourselves. Nobody's perfect. We've said that many times. It's cliche, but it's true. And of course, mental health It's something that we all have, and it's something that I especially need to work on and focus on, because like I said earlier, in the back half of the year, got my demons were starting to catch up with me a little bit. I need to work on that in 2024. Now, what should you focus on? Well, focus on your strengths. Focus on what you're good at. And like I said, if your goal is to, let's say, lose weight, don't set a unrealistic goal of, I want to lose 100 pounds this year. That's not realistic. Nobody can lose 100 pounds in a year. It's crazy. Set realistic goals for yourself. Like, okay, let's cut this out. And the more you cut out, the more you exercise, the more unhealthy stuff you cut out. I mean, like junk food and eating out. And the more you exercise, the more you'll lose. It's micro adjustments. I was hearing Chris Cuomo of the Chris Cuomo Project talk about this in his one of his most recent episodes of his podcast. He talked about micro adjustments. You do things, if you start out small, you'll see a difference. And that's what I'm going to at least attempt to do this year. Start out small, cut out how much I eat out. Cut out how much I eat junk food. Cut out how much I spend with toxic people. And you shouldn't, spending time with toxic people, that's never a good thing to do. But I'm going to limit my, how much I take in terms of toxicity around me, because there's quite a bit. Things like that. It's just small things. Just start small and you'll see the changes. Don't go big and say, oh, I'm going to cut this person out of my life because they're toxic, and, I'm going to lose 100 pounds by the end of the year. You're not going to lose 100 pounds by the end of the year. Nobody is. But just start small. Then as the year goes on, you will see changes. As for this podcast, we got a lot of exciting things coming down the pike. By the way, I hope you got something out of that. I know that was a bunch of gibberish, or it sounded like a bunch of gibberish, but basically the whole point of what I just said is set realistic goals. Don't be crazy and set goals that are not realistic for you as we go on in the year. It's the small things. You start off small, like, okay, instead of getting coffee once a day, I'll only get it coffee every day, multiple times a day, maybe only get it once a day. Once in the morning and boom, you're done. Or instead of at night eating a bag of chips, eat something healthy like fruit or, raw or carrots or something. Just something small. It's little things that make a big difference. Trust me, it is. And as I was about to say, lots coming up on the podcast this year. We've got, we're talking about, obviously, aside from current events, mental health, as of course we will talk about mental health as much as we can here on this podcast. That social media series, I did not forget about it. It's coming this month. Be on the lookout. It's coming this month. We're going to be talking plenty of things about it. We're talking all sorts of about its impact on our mental health and on loneliness too. Believe me, I have felt my fair share of loneliness during the holiday season, and I think anybody with anxiety and depression always has. Even if you're in a committed relationship, you still get that feeling. You still have that feeling of loneliness. And I also want to spend some time on talking about anxiety and depression in relationships. Because if your partner does not understand what you go through, then they're not worth being together. It's not worth being with that person if they can't understand what you're going through. Like, I listened to Jay Glazer on his Unbreakable podcast recently, and he's engaged now to an amazing woman who understands what he goes through and is there for him and supports him in any way she can. That's important in dating somebody with anxiety and depression, or really any other mental health issue. You have to be there for the person as best you can. You can't just, you can't just not be there. If you're not being there for them, then it's not worth being in a relationship with that person. I do want to talk about that too, but as I've said before, the social media series is coming later this month. We're going to talk about social media's impact on our mental health and our loneliness too, and how it's not really reality. It's not really what's happening in terms of social media is a whole different world compared to what we all live on the outside world. So, thank you so much for listening to the first episode of the new year. Remember, social media series is coming up at the beginning of the year. And as always, if there are things that you want me to talk about that I haven't discussed, feel free to reach out. Go on social media. Just say what you got to say and get the hell off, as Dr. Phil would say. But if there's something that you want me to discuss, feel free to reach out on social media, email, whatever, voice messages, what have you. And I will talk about it as best I can if I know what I'm talking about. But do feel free to reach out on social media as well and let me know what you think. Voice messages, you can leave a voice message, email, whatever. The whole spiel by now. If you're a long-time listener. If not, tjtpodcast@gmail.com if you want to reach out via email, or my social media accounts, TJ Temple Media or TJT Podcast. Reach out. Let me know what you think and what else you want to hear. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you later. Hope you have a great, happy, and healthy new year. And I'll be checking in with you checking in with you as the year goes on with updates on what I set to accomplish this year and a whole lot more. So take care of yourselves, take care of one another, and I'll see you soon. Take care.